Hello people, how you doing? Before anything can be reasoned upon to a conclusion, certain facts, principles, or data to reason from must be established, admitted, or denied. Ideas rest upon their own merits, and if they're good, they will. The Constitution is to be looked at as a constitution of government. That includes all government, state and local, ordained and established by we the people of the United States. And what the corporations, including the Corporation of the United States, has done to the Constitution and the state constitutions is beyond despicable. It's treason. But that's another subject right now. The state is founded on the relation of rights. Protection is its aim and object. That protection is just another word for justice, or the obtaining and granting everybody their due. People, we did not enter into society to be worse than we were before, nor did we come here to have less rights than we had before in the state of nature. We came here to have those rights better secured and protected. It's the duty of the court to afford that protection. Justice is a perpetual obligation and essential to the well-being of every society. The end intent of law is happiness and perfection of the general society. It enjoins upon every person the punctual observance of benevolence and goodwill, as well as justice towards his neighbor. Now, you got to realize that all the cities and counties, and they're all just incorporated sub-states, still created by we, the people, for our protection. They're ours, incorporated by a charter with the purpose of protecting us and our rights, not lining the pockets of the bureaucrats with a bunch of money. But that's exactly what they've done. They hijacked the lower municipal courts by manipulating the juries of their true power. Let me explain this to you a little bit. You see, back in colonial times, when the United States was formed after the war, most of the colonists were highly educated and knowledgeable in the study of the field of law. And they also knew their rights. They just got done with a war, exerting their rights, fighting for their rights. They knew they had rights. And they knew that the only way to protect those rights was to establish a justice system, fair and non-arbitrary. And how they did that was they established it with a jury. And when you go into court, you see the judge, he ain't really the judge, he's an administrator to make sure that the court proceeds correctly, and the jury is the actual judge. So, anyway, back in the day, when the colonial days, the administrators, when they were doing their final arguments on their cases, they would instruct the jurors to render their decisions using their own moral conscience and conviction based upon the character of the defendant, the nature and the circumstances of the allegation against him, the letter of the law, is how the law is written, and the validity of the law. Was it a valid law, or did the law trespass on the rights of the people? And everything went well up until about the mid-1800s, around the end of slavery, just before the beginning of the War of Northern Aggression. You see, a lot of slaves were running for their freedom, and when they were caught, and they were attempted prosecutions under the Fugitive Slave Act, due to the moral conscience of the jurors who were against slavery, and the circumstance, a man was just running for his freedom, and also the validity of the law. We all know there's no legal maxim that affords anybody the ownership over anybody else. So the prosecution of them escaped slaves, for the most part, went unpunished. They were turned free and weren't handed back over to their owners. And the owners were kind of upset that they weren't getting their slaves back, so they turned to their senators and they bribed them and paid them off for a resolution. And so the senators then, they held a secret meeting with the judges and explained to them the dilemma and that they needed to come up with something. And them meetings were such a success that they still have them today too, by the way. But the solution that the judges concurred upon was to alter the instruction of the jury and leave out the moral conviction and all the circumstances, and only tell the jury that they were to render their decision based on the letter of the law as it is written. Today we can see how well that worked by the present state of our system of law and the millions of Americans who are locked up for victimless crimes, along with those who are in debt up to their ass, owing the state money for fines incurred from victimless crimes. The vast majority of legal disputes initiated by the police on the behalf of their employer, who is the state, where the plaintiff is the state, and the judge, or administrator, the prosecutor and the antagonist, who is the police, and the only witness, who is also the police, all represent the same party, the state. And since none of the elements of a crime can be produced, there's no corpus delicti, the body upon which a crime has been committed. There's no mens rea, a guilty mind or a guilty or wrongful purpose. There's no actus reus, one who has actually committed a crime and been judicially charged. None of them can be produced. So the cases that they're bringing us into court don't even qualify according to their own laws to be heard in a court of law. The state is therefore indistinguishable from that of a criminal cartel. And it's time that we take our courts back. And I'll tell you how we can do that. We can put them to use for us, the way they were designed by the founding fathers, our protection. They knew how to repeal oppression and tyranny, and they set this system up for us. Now let's put it to work. Now the reason you need to know this is because every time you're in court, you're either suing someone or you're being sued by someone. Yeah, that includes traffic tickets and all them other bullshit citations your friendly, not so public servants are willing to hand out. Now listen, people. We're all part of the jury pool. Eventually, we'll all get called in to serve on a jury. And when you do, just remember, America was founded on the common law. And common law is simple. If there is no victim, there is no crime. Unless somebody has actually received a physical injury, a bodily injury, loss of life, the loss or damage to any part or all of his property included in the entire wealth of him. If somebody hasn't trespassed against another person, no crime has been committed. A man is free to do his will, as long as he keeps his evils and wickedness to himself and does not offend against the public decency. He commits no crime. Jurists, stop being the puppets of these corporate thugs and allowing the extortion of your fellow Americans. They're your brothers, they're your sisters, your moms, your dads, your grandmas, your grandpas, your uncles, your aunts, and your cousins. You're locking them up. You're stripping their liberty and their livelihood by finding them guilty of corporate bullshit, victimless, no crime charges. It's all for the profit of the corporation. So when you're called on to jury duty, which you will be, remember, no victim, no crime, not guilty. There's no one that can tell you any different. It is your mind. No judge can say you have to convict someone for anything. It's your own conscience. Going downtown and minding your own business and surviving and not trespassing upon anybody is not a crime. I don't care what you're doing. People, unless you've actually hurt somebody, stop going into these courts and pleading guilty to their bullshit lies of crime. Demand your jury trial. It's set up for us. Use it. If enough of us will do this, courts will be so overwhelmed with trying to schedule jury trials it'll be near impossible. Then with enough people in on the jury is the answer to the corporate bullshit, no victim, no crime, not guilty. If enough of us will refuse to convict these legislative bullshit victimless crimes, they'll have to repeal them because it'll be a waste of money and time. They won't be making no money off them. Come on, people, it's time to unite. Let's fight this corporate bullshit. Do it in the courts, established by the Founding Fathers as our weapon against tyranny. We can take our country back one case at a time, and we can work together and do it. Knowledge is the beginning of reason. Reason and ignorance, the opposite ends of each other, influence the great bulk of mankind. If either of these can be rendered extensive in a country, the machineries of government goes easily on. Reason shows itself and ignorance submits to whatever is dictated to it. I've presented the knowledge. It is up to us to unite and put it to use. Show our reason. If enough people in on this, jury is the answer to. We will bring this corporate government to her knees. Let's make this work, people. Come on, let's pass this message on. I know it's a little lengthy, but please like it and pass it on, because I guarantee I've been in the legal system an awful long time, and this will definitely get our point across. Thanks. Bye.